We were so engrossed in our conversation about LinkedIn and opportunities and all this other future wonderful things. But today, the word of the day is mindset. If it's 11 a.m. Eastern Time, it's LinkedIn Live, Hour of Empower. I'm so honored again to have Beverly with us today. Everybody should know Beverly. If not, you should get to know Beverly, especially if you're aligned with her. Again, we depend on chat, which is wide open, to help direct us, bring more relevance to everybody, and make this as rewarding and valuable a time uh, for your for the effort today. So with that said, we've got our first comment from Renadeb. Thanks so much. Here every day. Have to commend you. With that, Beverly, why don't you share a little update and what your initial thoughts on mindset is?
Oh, I love that word. And I want everybody in here that's I hope I pronounce your name right. It's Rana, I can't read it here. Ranadep? Ranadep Ray. I think that's it, but whatever it is, I'm so glad you're here and other people keep on coming in. That's going to be great. The whole idea is mindset, and mindset is everything. If we feel negative, things go downhill. It's all about having growth. And there's a growth mindset that we have to have. And a lot of people have a fixed mindset. And with a fixed mindset, there's no way of expanding. You can't expand if you're thinking just like this. And what happens, unfortunately, is when we are children, just little new babies, we are so precious. And as we are grow up in the world, we are taught that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not strong enough, we're not any of the enough. And we start developing more of a fixed mindset that if I do this, I will be better and I will be accepted more. And if I do not, no one will like me, no one will love me. So, what happens is we get away from that growth mindset. We stop experimenting, we stop going out and saying, I can do this. We say, maybe not. Maybe I can't just get out there. Hey, Natalie. Hi, Natalie. Welcome. I miss you today. Okay. You're supposed to be on my other side. Good morning. And so back we are on mindset. For me, Donald, change is what it's all about. And what I'd like everybody today to think about is really, I am good enough for this hour, just for this hour. Say to yourself, I'm good enough. I'm good enough. I'm strong enough. I'm capable. I am okay. And in other societies, that baby is just cherished. In indigenous societies, everything is okay. You're okay. They don't punish their children. I had the opportunity of being like way up in the far Arctic and all over the place. They don't hit them, they teach them. And so we have to start getting rid of the mindset that we're not okay, we're not good enough, and be our own parent here. I am good enough. So I'm going to give that over to you, Donald, because you're definitely good enough. And what you do is encourage others to be better and better. And that's all about a growth mindset. And that's awesome. And that's why this hour is so rich. And so thank you for allowing me to be here.
Oh, Beverly, it's always an honor because you bring so much experience, but also great insight into how people can learn from everyday things that they deal with every day. It's not like taking more initiative. It's making adjustments, and I think mind and set seem to work against each other because it almost seems like it's already calibrated, and now you just walk around with that mindset versus how flexible that mindset is, how changeable. It can be based on circumstances, environment, desire, whatever the interest, just like they say, don't ever go grocery shopping when you're hungry, right? Because the mindset you have is on your next meal, not your next week's groceries. And I think people in life get distracted by the shining object over there, by the promise of something for nothing, of hitting the lottery. And instead of really doing the hard work to gain a mindset that lends itself to positivity, right?
Yes.
That whole phrase, half empty, half full with a glass. Do you go in thinking there's more than you're going to be expecting or less? And you tend to get what you expect because you quit there. If you said, all I'm going to do is get 50 cents for a dollar, and someone gave you 50 cents or 60 cents, you would say, well, that was what I was expecting. If you were expecting more, you would ask more questions, you'd stay around longer, you'd meet some new people. It's how committed you are to your mindset, because
Yes.
you can have a great mindset and decide 10 seconds into it, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
And we set our mindset, you know, we
Mhm.
have the expectation that this is the way it's going to be. And when we have that expectation, guess what? We get what we get. And sometimes our expectation can really fail us. And what a story that comes to mind, Donald, is just what I heard yesterday. I have a podcast. It's Aging with Purpose and Passion. And it really is about change and aging with purpose and passion. And we're all aging. We cannot stop that. But what we can stop is the purpose and passion. That part of it can change. And before the podcast, I always interview because people send me guests, etc. And you don't know what you get, so you want to talk to these people. And yesterday, I was telling my husband about this phenomenal person that I met, and her story just demonstrates mindset. And I was saying, what am I going to talk to Donald and everybody about? And it was like, wow, that's the story. Okay. Do you remember the .com era? All
Mhm.
right. Well, this woman was in tech in Silicon Valley on top of her game, making millions and millions of dollars. And not only was she making the millions of dollars, but her husband was in tech too. And they had, you name it, okay? The cars, the houses, all the toys, all the 9 yards, everything was going down. Anyhow, the bottom line is she wasn't happy. Everything went to China. She was in the air all the time. And she said, I have it all. I want my life. I want to be able to raise my children. I can't be doing that for quite some time. So let's leave California. Let's go to Oregon. She went to Oregon. She bought a business in Oregon. That's why she went. Her husband came, her mother came, because with all the staff that she had in her homes, her mother was still taking care of the children, etc., etc. Bottom line, somehow she didn't do her due diligence because that completely went south. That what she invested in was a terrible, terrible, terrible investment. Here she was in Oregon. Then, as you know, .com fell. Okay, everybody lost their jobs. Everything went down. She had all kinds of stocks, lost all that. Here she is now in Oregon. Then what happens? Remember what happens with the mortgage? All the mortgages
Mhm.
and all the banks called the mortgages, all her properties went south. Okay. She's stuck in Oregon, and her marriage also lost her marriage. Okay. He went back and must have said, what am I crazy to have followed my wife all the way in Oregon? I'll leave all this. But now, okay. Now she's in Oregon. She has to take a job. She hadn't had a job in her whole life, really. She took her job from university and just grew up the ladder, and millions of dollars later, now she's taking a job. She got a job at a bank, Chase Manhattan Bank. She lost it. She said, how can I lose this job in the bank? Well, guess what? She got another job. Her credentials were over the top. She was always doing well, whatever. Guess what? She lost 3 jobs. She felt, I am totally unemployable. What do I do? She couldn't get a job anywhere. So what she did was there was an opening at the Indian Reserve not far from there. And she was working in the office at the Indian Reserve. Okay. So what she was doing was it's just really a admin job, doing nothing. But she had a mindset that I'm going to get over this, everything is fine. And she grew up with the mentality that if somebody is paying me, it must be worth something because they're paying me to do whatever I'm doing. So she felt good about what she was doing, although in comparison, my goodness, right? When you look at it, you would say, oh, she's a real loser. Well, she got the job in the reserve. Then, after that, what she did on the reserve, she started to, there wasn't much pay in the admin job. She got a job as in the bingo hall as a caller with bingos. Well, guess what? Right? She was a great bingo caller. Okay. And she was working with all the old people and getting all these tips. And guess what? She realized that they needed help in the negotiating the healthcare system. And so she was helping them. And as she was helping them, she started to build a job. People were following her to get help, and they were starting to pay her to go through the healthcare system. And what happened is a long story with this because she got kicked off the reserve because someone fell in love with her and he was much younger. And they just said, she's not good for us. And then she was devastated, of course, because now what do I do? Someone hired her to say, meet me, I need help, and I will pay you. Remember the mindset? The mindset was, I am worth somebody something if somebody's going to pay me to do what I can do. So he paid her to go through the healthcare system. And she says, if one person is going to pay me, maybe other people will. And she realized that in Oregon, there were a lot of veteran communities and they needed help too. And there was a lot of mental health challenges. Bottom line, she built a business out of helping people go through the healthcare system. And it meant so much that the governor had was notified that this is the kind of work that she was doing. And she was sending reports and working with the governor of Oregon. Now she has an app that's going to be out if anybody needs it. Okay, it's going to be out in November. Okay, there will be the big reveal. And she says it's going to be like the Amazon of healthcare. It's going to be able to help you negotiate through the healthcare system. And it's tech. So she goes full circle. How about that, Dawn? We always go full circle. The universe is endless, it's timeless. We're the ones that hold back. We're the ones that say, no, I can't, or no, I shouldn't. And so the bottom line when we're talking about mindset is keep growing, keep going. And everything comes back. She's right now back in tech. And, the woman must be in her 70s today. So, hey, okay. I'm sorry I took so much time and space, but
Well,
as to say, we're talking
there was
mindset.
no gaps in the story for sure, but it was a great story. And, I think that the main takeaway I have from it is time and timing, right?
Yes.
Your mindset can't time out on you because you don't know what the time is if it's something new or something you're not used to. If you know it takes you 20 minutes to go to the grocery store, then 20 minutes is a good measure if you're late or early to it. Where if it's something like this, again, if you don't look at outcomes and deadlines and time limits, because sometimes, just like if you were going to a boss and saying, I need another week to finish the project, sometimes you need to get permission from yourself.
Yes.
Don't get so impatient. And plus, where are you going? When you leave here, what's next? Nothing? A new deal? that one
Yeah.
day you'll get into the same situation you're in now.
Yes.
And that's why it's what you learn and then what you earn. If you're learning along the way, if you're growing along the way, you're getting paid in different currency. And if you do a good enough job, I work for everybody and everything as if it was unlimited pay. I don't hold, I give it whatever I got because I want it to be as good as it can be. But I know I need to get better for people to get better, right? You can't teach what you haven't learned, and you can't teach if you haven't learned it long enough to understand it's not a one off, because the key is what's sustainable, what's duplicatable, what's scalable. If those three things aren't in it, it's transactional, which means you're going to go out hunting every day to eat,
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
know, and who needs that? And the key is if you're worried about time, how many people have been through 6 careers in 3 years and still unhappy, right?
Right.
Everything they wanted, everything they went for was more ambition than achievement. And at a certain point, reality shows up in every situation. And I think it is the confidence and the leadership, because comebacks are easy if you come back,
Yes.
right? If you just lay down and get angry or frustrated. I mean, whose right is it to quit on oneself and the people around them because they lost,
Yeah, no,
right?
this is so true. That's so true. But you have to feel that way. And this is where we go right back into childhood. If you don't feel good enough, and remember when I started, everybody should be saying, I am good enough. That feeling has to connect from your head to your heart. And when you do that, you keep on moving forward because guess what? You are good enough. And you say, okay, so I didn't do it well this time, but it was the best I can. And now that wasn't good enough for them. It was good enough for me. What did I do to learn more? How can I improve? What can I do more? But it doesn't mean that I am a complete failure. It's just I didn't do well according to what was needed at the time. So let's look at all our
Oh yeah,
people.
let's do that. That's I wouldn't feel right. So let's just go down the list from the beginning. We talked about Renee Debs. Thank you so much for being here. Natalie, who's going to be here tomorrow. Just a wonderful, wonderful connection and just even a better person. So, I'm so grateful and appreciative for the community that we have and we're building with. Just a lot of good hearted, really nice people, which is a good start. Carrie's here. Why did the tomato turn red? Because it saw the salad dressing. Carrie's always good for a yuck yuck. Natalie says, I'm fully aligned with having a growth mindset, so important. Kinga's here. Thank you so much, Kinga. Another very, very thoughtful,
Wonderful.
generous person looking to help. Great to have you, Kinga. Ashif is here every day from Canada. Uh, all a beautiful day begins with a beautiful mindset. So true. Natalie says, I love that aging is as positive as growing and thriving in life. And then Natalie comes back with, I checked and I am on the show tomorrow. You had me down for a second. Kinga comes back with keep going and growing. Love that, Beverly Glazer. Natalie says, you are a wonderful storyteller, Beverly. I would never tire of listening to you.
Thank you.
Leslie's here. Kind of looking forward to September, having Leslie back on Saturdays with Melissa Cohen. Hello, nice to see you, Leslie. Uh, Leslie saying hello to Kingo. We've got Dennis, our rhymer, here. Time and timing help me my rhyming, and hopefully I will get better too in what I should do. Another good-hearted, intended person. That's what makes for safe communities, is people that really contribute, whether it's laughter or poetry or quotes or insights. It all goes into the melting pot of ideas and it comes out with a distillation that's better than it could have done without the community. So, Beverly, so many nice fans,
Oh,
supporters here for us today.
yeah, because I think the topic is fabulous. We either have a growth mindset or we have a fixed mindset. And you know what? That's the truth. And we know when we're dealing with other people who are the ones who are expansive, who are the ones who are positive. And I'm going back to the word positive because a lot of people think to be positive, you have to ignore the negative. And that is so not true. What you have to do is accept the negative and see the light. That's what I believe positivity is. It's not this la la la, everything is rosy, because believe me, it is so not rosy. But as long as you can see, I have to sit back. Where is the light here? You're always going to find a little spark somewhere. It's not black and white. And even when we have our dark days, we do have some gray in it. And I'd love to hear what people have to say on that because nothing is black and white. And when we have the black and white, that's where we are in a fixed mindset and you can't get it.
Hmm.
You're stuck, you know? So Harvey just says, everyone's sorry I'm late. And Harvey, don't be sorry. I'm glad you're here.
Well, Harvey's just one of the best, and really enjoy working with Harvey and sharing and visioning with all the people who take this beyond just conversation and want to apply it to reality. And I think Beverly's so right. I think pragmatism and realism have a lot to do with having the right mindset. You know, knowing where you are, knowing why you're there, knowing what you're there for, and what could you do more of that you didn't do the day before. So if you just take it one day at a time, the past doesn't haunt you, the future doesn't scare you. You just look at your day and you plan it, right? What am I going to do for breakfast? What am I going to wear? Where am I going to go? Who am I going to talk to? What else am I going to do? And look at it. How, you spend 24 hours doing something and you won't spend 2 minutes writing it all down to look at it.
True.
Because you know why? You don't want to see it.
No.
You know,
And
you know what would be there, you know? So what's your thoughts, Beverly?
well, my thoughts also, just as you said, it's a road and we travel it. And, you know, to get rid of the cliches, but it really is just great to use these analogies. We're following that road. And like I was talking about that story where she's from, a .com mogul to being just a caller in a reserve giving out bingo chips. Okay. But what happens is she goes right back, and we all do, to what we really know. And this woman is tech. And this woman was on top of her game. And now she is. She's working with the governor of the state. She's developing an app. We get back to who we are. But when we're following the road leads us somewhere, no matter where, you know? I'm thinking of Dorothy going off to Kansas as I'm talking. But quite frankly, yeah, keep going, keep going because you are good enough and it'll come out in everything you do. So you don't have to worry about it. The universe expands. We should expand too and just keep accepting. I sound like a guru as I speak, and so this is enough of my TED talk.
I think it should be the beginning of one. Uh, no, I think this is a great subject because when I think of mindset and a successful mindset, which is usually a comfortable mindset, there's a lot of times you walk into something with so much confidence. There's no
Yes,
question it's going to work out the way you planned it,
yes,
right? I mean, it's just obvious. And if it doesn't, that would be the surprise instead of the expected. So what I remember is not all the time do you have to fail to come back. Sometimes you can go to the edge and come back. You know, my business when I started was 37 years old when I retired from it. And I had to reinvent myself at least 7 times,
sure.
go to the edge many times and beyond and come back. But it is that being able to accept change, be humble, be modest, to that story of the lady. You know, you do the best you can at whatever you have to work with. And there's no good work and bad work. You know, when I had my company and there were 72 people working under one roof at one time, I remember somebody came in, thought he was a big shot, and said, the person when does the person empty the trash around here?
Oh.
I said, you make the trash, you can walk it down to the hall. And by the way, the vacuum cleaner is available for everybody's office. This is your office, right? Who
Sure.
wants, and everybody's the same. And that made a difference when they saw me walking down the hall with the vacuum cleaner and taking out my own trash. And you have to be the example of what you want to duplicate through others. It can't be, here's what I do, but here's what I say. It's got to be show and not tell, right? Because the key to a mindset is once you get it, to keep building it up, making it
Yeah.
stronger, you
Yes.
know? And the way
Yeah.
to do that is to get feedback, to get results. And that's what I'm advocating everybody do with all this energy, all this excitement, is distill it and direct it towards specific goals and let it work for you instead of you working for it all the time. And I think that's the mindset is what can I bring from what's in front of me in the universe, what we're actually doing today, and what we're actually thinking from what we're doing today that we can do more tomorrow. And that's the key to acquiring wealth is continuous deposits of value wherever it is. So we got some really great comments. Here's Leslie Nidick, who I just can't talk enough about. Agree, Beverly. Being positive is not believing all is positive. It is that I know that if I keep on digging, I will find a positive under the pile of negatives, or you'll get a lot stronger for the digging, right?
Yes.
Just from
And
that
the
exercise, your muscles, as far as research, development, always easier with friends. Kinga says, so true. Natalie says, if I lived in a black and white world, I would definitely feel stuck. Waking up every morning and seeing color in the full realm of possibilities makes me feel alive. I agree that it's not. Jeez, sorry about that. Um, I'm back. Uh, yeah. So basically, what we're saying here is black and white is boring in most cases, and it's also determining, right? Because it's either one or the other. And most people are stuck in the gray area every day or the opaque area where mindset really relates to clarity. I agree it's not always rosy, but yes, Beverly, there's always light somewhere. And just the belief in that makes
Mhm.
it real, makes it true, and gives you a backup when fear shows up is the belief that tomorrow could and should be better. And then the responsibility is what am I doing to make it better for
Yeah.
me and what I'm
And,
trying to
and
accomplish?
it allows us to keep growing. If something happens and we keep wallowing in the same thing over and over, it gets bigger, it gets worse, it grows, it festers.
Hmm.
And you start thinking to yourself, I'm never going to get out of this. This is the way it's going to be. My whole life is going to be the pits. And you start looking at other people. And that's a real fault when we look at other people and start judging ourselves in comparison for where we should be. That's where that I am enough has to come, because the universe, I'm talking like really woo woo here, but it's so not, okay? It's like there is enough for everybody. There really is. All you have to do, there's no fighting here. There's enough space for all of us. We all are worth something. And we have to find our place in the world no matter where it is. And I'm going back to that story of this woman because she's accomplished it all. Okay. You can find your place at the casino, which is where she did. She found her place on the reserve at that time. And she was happy there. And you can find your place as long as you find your place, somewhere that you feel valued, somewhere that you feel you're making a difference, somewhere that you feel that you have a purpose. And it may not be only in your work. You're lucky if it is in your work, but you have to have a purpose. And that purpose will make you thrive. That purpose gives you that growth mindset. That's that light that keeps you shining. And it could be your family, and it could be your friends, and it could be your job, and it could be what you do, and it could be your community. It could be anything. But whatever it is, we have to give. It's not only about us, it's growth, it's moving out, it's moving past ourselves. Donald, your
Yeah,
turn.
that's great. To add to that, and it's not easy, but I'll try, is how prepared are you for something to happen that you don't know is going to happen, don't even know when it could happen, but you know something is going to happen in your life to change it. And the
Yeah.
key is what were you basing your purpose on before that? And if it was trying to compete with the Joneses, if it was what people think of you, that's the hardest fall.
Mhm.
Is like, oh, now I got to give up my membership. Now I got to sell my house and I got to move into this place and I don't have the fancy car. And it just gets worse because now I'm giving up things I never thought I had to give up. And then you're thinking, oh, everybody's laughing at you, thinking and all of a sudden you created this crazy world
Yeah.
where you're giving voice to people that don't even think or care as much about you as you think. And there are people who think the opposite of what you think about you. There's people that will reach out and feel sorry for you and help you if you allow things to settle. It's like falling off a cliff and trying to grab everything that you own before you go off it to take
Oh,
it with
yes.
you. And I think that's the hardest part is when you lose everything or lose something that's so important to you. You only know what you lost and what you used to have. Your future is just starting now, relating to that. So
Yeah.
you're starting with a huge minus with no positive, but knowing you're moving into reclamation, reinvention.
Yeah.
It's always
Right.
better to
Yeah.
think there's a purpose I don't understand here. There's
Yeah.
there's there's something that's making me pivot,
Yeah.
that's important that in the future something good will come out of this, right? Or just if you're grateful, something already has whatever you lost, you had, right?
Yes. Yes.
And that's
And
important.
to realize what really is important. Like in with the case of this woman, money was not important. She said, I'm going to just leave all this. I don't need it. I have more than enough. What's important is taking care of my kids right now. And unfortunately, plans can go south. And whatever we do, we have to have that growth mindset that I can survive no matter what. I can think of something. I can somehow find a way to get from here to there. And if you don't have the growth mindset, that's where life spirals. And there are unfortunately people that cannot get out of that. And there are places where they can get help. And that's the truth. And if you're anybody is in that situation right now, I do want you to reach out because you can get help to change all that negativity, all that stuff that's in your head to just kind of let you see the light. And it's not necessarily medication for that. Okay. But, and I'm not anti medication, but quite frankly, yes, you must not allow the brain chemistry literally to get you down to zero or to go to that cliff to the edge to want to fall off it because our brains can send us right back down there. And we need to have that positive mindset, the mindset that's saying, I can do this. Yes, I can. That glimmer of hope, that light where you can just keep on going and figure it out. Because you know what? It's all learning. It's all learning and it's all growth. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that, because life is an experience, right? It's not just an event or a situation. And the also thing that I learned is when you need less, you have less pressure on you to do things to get the
Mm-hmm.
more you used to have to do.
Mm-hmm.
When I downsized, I realized when you have a lot of stuff has you. Takes your time, takes your thought, takes your space, takes your caring, right? And what for? The stuff is sitting there. And most of the stuff maybe was inherited. It wasn't even your best favorite stuff. It was just somebody that you knew. So to me, if you travel light, you travel easy,
Oh,
right? If
I
you got a caravan that you got to take care of, right? How much of that is really going to come back to you when you're spending all your life taking care of it? So my feeling is, if things get rough, lighten up. Don't go to Starbucks every day for $6 and save $200 a month, and you wouldn't even miss it, right? I mean, it's the little things that make a big difference. And when you're trying to come back, little things are all you have to work with,
yeah, yeah.
right? And the more you get humble and modest and say, if it's good enough for them, it should be good enough for me, and vice versa, right? Who am I to be entitled to think
Uh-huh.
I'm worth more? And I think that lady made a point. When someone pays you, you're worth something. But if you're not making anything, you're worth nothing. And at that point, why not volunteer that nothing then,
Yeah.
right? And do something positive. See people get helped, and you're practicing doing something. And to this lady's benefit, you'll get noticed.
Yeah.
If you get busy and you go to work as if someone was paying you $1 million a year,
Mm-hmm.
one
Mm-hmm.
day someone will, because you'll already be working as that person.
That's right.
Just because you can't get it doesn't mean you're not doing it or not worth it. And I think that's the mindset you got to get out of, is when someone gives me something, I'll do something. And
That's right.
meanwhile, nothing's going to happen if I just start doing it and let
Yes.
it catch up to me. But at least you're on the road. At least if you're in an unpleasant mindset,
Yeah.
leaving it is the first step towards anything,
Oh,
right?
yes.
If you know where your R is too hot to handle, then you're getting comfortable by leaving. And then by being comfortable, maybe you find some more comfort because you're healing. And once you realize that, if you cut yourself, 10 seconds later, it's still going to be cut. And you
Yeah.
give yourself a few days and you keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's why having a support group who will come to your assistance and tell you how good you are, how valuable you are, how important you are, and reassure you and give you the time. That's why building that in advance is so important, because it's too late. They say be known before you're needed, you know? And if you go out there for help and nobody knows you, your chances are pretty slim. And I think everybody's going to need it. So, with that said, let's move on to some of these
Yeah.
wonderful comments. Ashif says, I love from my journey of learning self awareness plus mindfulness equals mindset. So
Yeah.
that's a good
Yes.
equation. Harvey comes back with positivity is like a magnet. It works by having a balance between positive and negative, a yin and a yang. And that's what makes it interesting.
Uh-huh.
Agree, the right road leads us to the no and not the no. And the thing is every journey is only as good as who you're on the journey with, right? And what you're there for. 7 times is the lucky time to make your life rhyme. Well, I agree, seven's been a lucky number. Mindset for an individual is growing and changing since the early ages, and the outside environment has a profound effect on the thinking for an individual. And I think being aware of your environment, of what you're into, a proper and positive mindset will yield results quickly in any field for the individual works. Why wouldn't you want to work with a positive mindset, right? You go out on a rainy day, you bring an umbrella. If you're going into a rainy environment, why not bring a positive attitude? Agree, black and white is boring, but being colorful is more enjoyable. I've got some really good comments today, Beverly. Harvey says, need to acknowledge all my friends here with a positive message. I have a page, a day, desk, calendar, and today it reads, keep a green tree in our heart, and perhaps a single singing bird will come. It's all expectation, like we say. Maria's here. Dennis comes back with agree better to be worth more and not worth less. Uh, Dennis is prodigious today. I think we pretty much caught up. So
Oh, I like
Beverly, we're
this. What
almost
Dennis also said is agreed. Black and white is boring, but being colorful is more enjoying. I like that. Okay.
yeah, for sure. And I think that kind of sets the tone of what
Yeah.
we're advocating is when
Yes.
things are boring, if things are disappointing, that's the time to get out of yourself, to become more energetic, to apply more creative thought to what you're doing. And the thing is if you're at the bottom, you got only the top to go for at that point, and sometimes you find some things are not as bad as you thought they were until you actually are exposed to it. I mean, I remember my wife comes from a real small town in Pennsylvania. I'm from Detroit. I'd never been in a small town where 3 hours later everybody in the town knows you're there. And you see third cousins, fourth cousins everywhere at the movie show, at the bowling alley, and everything seemed to be so much slower,
Mhm.
from city life. And you start to think maybe these people aren't that, different. Maybe they're smarter. That
Oh,
some
yes.
people take the simple, everyday, healthy life
Oh,
versus
oh.
sitting in traffic for an hour and a half, choking down food between meetings, doing that kind of life, and then living in a house you never see and drive a car you never have time for. So you're agreeing, Beverly. What's your thoughts?
I agree with that 100% because I'm thinking of what you were saying, like how much stuff do you really need? The bottom line, okay? If if you I think there is, I don't know the name of it, but it's called the 10% rule, okay? We only need 10% of everything we have. And if you just take a look, and that's everything. We can be busy, 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 but what makes us most income is probably the 10% of the most important things, not all the busy stuff. And it's the same thing with everyone else, everything else. If you take a look at, say, your closet, how many clothes do you have? Chances are you keep wearing the same 10%. And everything else kind of sits there. And it's all our stuff too. And I remember when I scaled down or had to scale down, and I took a look at this huge house that I had, and I said, where am I going to put all this stuff? And then I said to myself, what do I need all this stuff for? How many sofas do I need? I mean, I need my bed. I wanted my dining room set. It was huge. Do I really need so many chairs? The whole thing is, what do we really need, right? The bottom line, very little. And to your point, Donald, when I was traveling, when I was with the indigenous people up north or wherever, that simplicity, all I had to do was be there for a few days, and it was culture shock when I came down. It was quiet. You saw sky, you saw trees, you saw, and higher up you go, you see nothing. There's a certain amount of peace and tranquility in all of that. And when you come down, the ideal, the absolute perfect way of describing it is getting off a plane in New York. Okay. You can feel the as soon as you hit the ground. Okay. Do we need all that? Yes, sometimes I tell you, I do. I love that supercharge. But how much of it is really valuable to our lives? We have to take a look at that too. And it's about mindset. So if things are crumbling and your mindset is still, oh my gosh, I have to support it, it's the wrong mindset. Let it crumble and you will survive and you will continue to grow and thrive as long as you go with it and keep feeling, I am enough. I can do it. I have value and I will get where I want to be. And right now, I don't know where I want to be, but I sure as heck know I can't support everything else that I've had. So it's all about mindset. To you, Donald. What's
Yeah, I think that's so true. And when you're used to success, when you expect the question to be not can you be successful, but how successful at this? How do you get beyond even what, where you're competing with yourself? The real question is, will the winds be in my favor? Will I ever get the opportunity? Right? Someone who says, "Yeah, I can come back tomorrow if the situation presented itself, and I'll be better for disappointment and failure because on the way up you think it's all about you, and on the way down you can't understand how it could be anything to do with you." you know and especially when you're used to building, growing, and everything expands, and then the economy comes in or something changes and there's no way to anticipate that, and you really have to, sometimes all you have is you. Everybody else has walked away.
mm-hmm.
Everybody else doesn't care, and there's no reason for them, you know because that's, I think, the key is not to take too much credit for what your success is.
Yeah.
Take too much blame for what your failures and disappointments are, knowing that things are going to change both ways. So don't get too excited. You won for that period of time. Now the game plays again. And is it the game you want to play, even though it might be the game you win at all the time?
Yeah.
Right? If you played a game that you made a lot of money, but you got tired of it, and after a while you got even like, this is so. It must be like with singers who are singing songs from 40 years ago for the last 40 years. No one cares about
And no one
anything
knows
new.
who they are. Yeah.
And that has to, they're rusting is what they're doing. And I think you're better wearing out than timing out.
Yeah.
You're better
For
off doing things, having fun with it, because it's the laughter, it's the joy that comes from whatever the accomplishment and who you're with to share it with,
that's
right? To have a hollow victory where you're sitting by yourself around the table with a big check,
yeah.
knowing, what am I going to do with this? I already got what I need. And you're right. Actually, when I sold my big house, I left everything there because it was meant for that house.
Yes,
I had
exactly.
things that wouldn't fit anywhere else, or it was meant for the room or whatever. And I just, said, hey, give me a number. And it was a beautiful situation, but I was glad to be rid of it
Mm-hmm.
because a new day should start with a new way. And if you drag legacy with you and things from the past that don't work anymore, it's going to affect you. And sometimes a clean slate is the best slate. And it's your slate and it's today's slate. And after a while, you could almost make yourself believe that this big disappointment was a great opportunity of freedom.
Oh, it's
If I wouldn't have left my company when I sold it, I would have still been there doing everything I was doing for 37 years. And eventually, who wants to live in a small office with a lot of people who are asking for so many things all the time? So here we go. Get so busy talking. Uh, as Sheaf comes back with unbusy yourself and change your mindset, needs versus wants. And beyond needs and wants, it's what you deserve. Everybody needs something, everybody wants something. But what have you earned? What have you achieved? Rita's here, another wonderful lady, great supporter of the show. On mindset fixed, we stay where we are. Growth, we move forward. Yeah, I mean, half the fun of driving is putting it in drive. Humility is happiness, not sitting in neutral or going backwards. Harvey comes back with, Dennis, you're a poet and you make me smile. I love a little rhyme every once in a while. You put a little magic on every little word. It's like Shakespeare in a pot having just been stirred. Thought I would give poetry a go. You inspired me, Dennis. And you see that if everybody can make everybody a little better in a little different way than they would have on their own, right? That's where you pick up maximalism, if that's the word. Is it doesn't take up room, a couple thoughts, a couple words, a couple stories like Beverly's story. It continues to tell its story on its own through everybody. And I think that's the magic of abundance is what do we all know? What do we all live through? What can we share in a positive way to motivate, encourage, and empower people? And so many people are spending time telling people their troubles, their worries, and they're talking to people who are dealing with the same thing, and now it's twice as much. And now they don't only feel alone, they feel like they're part of a victim group, and that's the expectation. And, again, it's like, where are you looking? What are you looking for? And if you found it, would that be the thing? Or are you just looking for whatever comes next, potluck, take what you get? And there's a lot of people that suffer lives of quiet desperation.
Yeah.
Every day they wake up feeling like maybe I'll get through. I mean, that's never a good feeling because you know what? It's a big earth. There's just lots of people. You know, I was even thinking if you're going to be poor, be poor in a great community, right?
Sure.
When you go to
Sure.
Santa Barbara, they'll just love to see you. Uh,
You can be in a very rich community that has no money, you
well, that's
know?
right. It rubs off, right? If you
Mhm.
want to be a cow person, you got to be around cows, right?
Exactly. And if you want to be a positive person, Don, those have to be your people too. You can't keep
Absolutely.
commiserating with the same people because you're just dragging yourself down. You can help other people, but they have to help themselves too.
Well, they say you're the factor of the five people you spend the most time with. So disassociation can be just as valuable as association is, like I mentioned, people like elevator buttons. Only go with the people that take you up. And if people keep taking you down, you just gotta say, I don't want to go there anymore. I mean, you could, and how nice, most people, well, they're a really nice person. Well, what's so nice about them when all they do is make me feel depressed hearing what they have to say and then judging me? And I mean, after a while, it's like, hey, I'd rather be by myself than be with a negative person who I know is going to be negative. And then I ask myself, what did I do it for?
Yeah.
Why can't I say no at the right time, in the right way, in the right circumstances, and be comfortable with it?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, is compromise accommodation that isn't directed from you, but towards you, that you just go along with and say, I can handle it. Well, why just handle it? Most limitations are self-imposed. So, right, Ashif, we're just saying
Yeah.
that. Harvey comes back with, I have a meeting now, but great to be here. Great to see you, Harvey, always. Me and Harvey have been going back and forth like forever. So, see you next time, which will probably be tomorrow. So,
Yeah.
take care, Harvey. And looks like we're coming. Well, no, we got a few more minutes. This has been very exciting, this mindset discourse we have today. And, it is so nice to invite so many people who really just can't wait to dive in and
Yeah.
share, but also, get the share from others and include it in their ensemble. Natalie says living in abundance doesn't mean having a lot of stuff. So true. To me, love and laughter is the happiest house in the block. And it doesn't matter how big it is. I see people with these tiny houses and they seem so joyful. I mean, they built like a 600-foot something on a couple wheels, and it's so cute inside, and it's like a little dollhouse. And they're thrilled because they don't have any maintenance, they don't have any expenses, they can
Yeah.
pick it up and take it anywhere. They're
Yeah.
free as a bird. You know,
Yeah.
how much is how do you put a price on that?
Yeah. This
Is
is me.
mobility.
I'll tell you now, it's not for me, but there are so many people also that are RVers. And what they do is they just pick up and they just leave and they travel with their house. That is it. That's their possessions. And I think it's wonderful if you could do that. Like I said, I can't. I think I need maybe a truck that comes along with me, but still, what do we really need? We don't really need that much, but we do need community and we do need each other and we need to thrive and we need to feel that we have a purpose. And that comes from within. It doesn't come from exterior stuff.
Well, there's people that care and love you enough to want to show up for you day in and day out, who want
Yeah.
to learn from you and also help you. I mean, that's the community you want. It doesn't have to be huge, but it has to be honest and it has to be dynamic where everybody's willing to go with the flow and make the changes for it to be successful. But then there's also people who are here just for the time they were here. Somebody might show up in your life just for one day and redirect your mind or your attention. You watch a TV show and all of a sudden an idea springs to mind, or validation or confirmation finally says, they're right, I'm right. I just heard what they had to say and it's exactly what I was thinking, but I wasn't 100% of. Now it's full speed ahead. And sometimes you got to get excited by yourself. You got to enjoy yourself, you got to laugh at yourself, and have fun because once you start doing that, you're different than the people who aren't. And where you show up, people see that. How do people always get so popular wherever they go? And it can't be luck, right? It's because they don't care as much as other people of what people think of them. They're not afraid to get out of their shadow and express themselves. And another thing is everybody's going to make mistakes. How quickly do you forgive yourself?
Hmm.
How quickly do you say, hey, whatever it was, we'll get through it. Don't worry about it. It's only a glass. It's only $100. It's always minimize the loss,
Yeah.
maximize the hope and the aspiration for the future. And it gives you determination when you lose, right? Because you question yourself. I mean, how many times did you put a paper and you thought it was worth an A, and if you got a C minus, you were like dumbfounded. But you then took that C minus and examined it deeper, or maybe even had the courage to go to the teacher and say, "Can you explain where I didn't get where I thought I was before you told me where I wasn't?" You know, and that's interesting because it's curiosity that really sets the stage for the future. It's the person who isn't satisfied with the answer they're getting or with what they're only seeing. And someone says, I want to look a little deeper into this. I want to go further. And I'm committed. Once somebody says, I drew the line, I'm going to see this thing through however it turns out, but I got to see the end of this picture.
Yeah.
And
And
I think that's what life is about is you made investments.
yeah.
People made investments in you, right?
Yeah. And you've invested in yourself, but you can't beat yourself up for not getting where you think you should be. You are where you are, and you have to continue to try. And you also have to look back. I think that's so important with a positive mindset. How far did you come?
Hmm.
Not far, how far did I fall, but how far did I come from when I fell? That's huge. And that keeps you going and that keeps you moving forward and not considering yourself a failure and judging yourself and feeling the world is judging you as well. Because no one is judging you. No, nobody cares. They only care about themselves. So, what you're doing is you are judging you. You
Hmm.
have to be your own best friend. You really do. And you have to encourage you because the world is not going to do it. And so just be positive, keep moving forward. And Dennis just wrote I agree. Curiosity cures. Yes, be curious. Why did these things not happen? Why did I fail? What went wrong here? And the same thing, I think Dennis also wrote, like Buckminster said, do more with less. Yeah. So what if it was a loss? A loss to who? Who cares? Don't put so much energy, like you said, Donald, on what everybody expects you to have. It's not necessary. It's all really about what you need and who you are and how you feel about yourself. I'm going right back to the beginning. You are enough. Let it go.
Well, to your point, when you look back and then you look forward, when you were 10 or 15 years old, did you ever think you'd be where you are today? You would have been places, done things, met people, enjoyed life in the way you did. There's a saying, you come into the world with nothing. The worst you can do is break even, right?
Love it.
Because, right? And you can't take anything with you,
Nope.
right? So everything's on loan. It's never owned by anybody.
Exactly.
And if you can, and possession is 90% of the law. So if you can just enjoy it, even if it's not yours, if you can stay at a mansion, it's as good a stay as the person who's already there, right? If you can drive in a car, you don't have to own it to enjoy it or to appreciate it. And
So
sometimes, again, tasting things is better than owning things. I mean, they say when people the best 2 days of having a boat is the day you buy it and the day you sell it, right?
love it.
Because everything else is work and time and money and expense. And if you just said, how many times did I actually take this boat out? I could have rented this thing,
It's true. It's
right?
true.
For the 7, 8 times, or even like you say with RVing.
Yeah.
Why would you buy a big thing when for 2 weeks you can use it and then
I
let
agree.
somebody else park it and deal with it? And I think that's the key is people have to possess things at times to feel in control of things
Yeah,
instead
exactly.
of just participate in things and so many different things that allows them. It could be music, could be art, could be anything, but you're experiencing more in the moment where you want to versus saying we're going to work 10 years and we're going to buy this mansion, right?
Right.
And what are we talking about here? 10 years of life for a residence,
Yeah. And
right?
then
And who knows
support
where
that.
it's at and what's in front of it. So these comments are so cool. And it's great. Even Ashif says breaking even is a jackpot.
I love that.
And it's they say the next thing to playing and winning is playing and losing. And the key is the playing of it, not the victory itself. That only lasts a little bit. Oh, Victoria's here, another wonderful lady. Great saying that is so true. Now come into the world with nothing, and it is true, right? Everything you've gotten, someone gave you in one way, shape, or form. Either you earned it, you inherited it, you acquired it somehow, and it's going to be there for the next person too. So really enjoy it while you had it. And one thing about everything you've done is in the books now. That can be taken away from you, right? It's already done, right? And why go back anyways? They say throw away your rear view mirror. Don't look back unless you want to go back. And you're only here for a short period of time. Why not have as much fun with as many people who want to have as much fun and as little people who
Yeah.
don't support that element, right? Because it's laughter, laughing, enjoying, taking the moment and savoring it, especially when there's special moments. And one has to ask themselves, how many moments am I waiting for and how many moments am I creating? How hard is it to invite 5 people over, like family, and we're going to go have this dinner, pizza tonight?
Yeah.
And it only
And
takes someone who initiates it.
yeah, and go for it. Don't give yourself excuses why you can't. We always have excuses. It's like get out there. That's the journey. Because you never know. You'll always, well, you'll never regret it if it's something that you wanted to do. But the excuses, yes, you will regret if you've never gone. So go out, just experience. And that's living, just getting out there. And that could be a job, that could be with friends, that could be with family, that can be with learning, that can be with everything. Just get out there and discover. And that's growth. And that's personal growth. And we all need that. Just keep expanding. You never
Well,
know.
and with that said, that all lends itself to a positive mindset. And I think we started with that and we went all kinds of different places and picked up all kinds of new ways of defining it, applying it, enjoying it, and again, optimizing our horizons, how deep, how wide, how high we can go with ourselves, but more importantly, with our groups. It's a little bit of that gives you a lot of advantage over time. So thank you very much. Last words, Beverly. This has been a fast hour, I'll say that.
It sure has. I'd love to respond to all the comments. I'm going to do that after the show because they keep on coming. Last words, just keep expanding, just keep growing, and that you are good enough. I think that should be a mantra. It should be printed on the wall. You should put it on your mirror. You do not have to be accountable to anyone, anything, just yourself. And it's all okay. You'll make it work.
So true. And with that said, Natalie will be here tomorrow with Leslie Flowers. Should be another great show. And just gets better from there. So thank you so much, Beverly. It's been wonderful sharing the stage with you again today.
Thank
And
you.
the audience couldn't have been any better for being so uh, thoughtful and insightful in their shares and their comments, and also the relationships people are creating among themselves, which is so very very valuable. So have a beautiful day. We'll be back tomorrow. Take care.